Matt Mead here for IrishBoxing.com with the man for JB Promotions. First off, what a show on Friday night. Everyone tore the roof off the Red Cow. But listen, how was it?
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah, it was hard work as always. I think everyone knows that in the promotion game it's not easy, but yeah, it was quite successful. I would have liked him for Tony to pick up his first title, but again, that didn't happen, and um, everyone got home. Everyone went home happy, I believe, from the crowd. All the fighters went home safe. I know
Yeah.
we had one or two small little injuries, and bar that, yeah, successful night.
Just going through the card. First off, Peter Kerr against Octavian Grati. Peter Kerr was looking for a knockout, and I was talking to him earlier on a Zoom call. And he said he was looking for a knockout, but listen to 4 rounds. But he said that he wanted to match against Sean Murray. I just want your word from that.
Yeah, look, Peter wants to fight Sean. Sean wants to fight Peter, but Peter hasn't got 6 rounds. Sean is willing to fight him over 6 rounds, but there's times that you have to kind of hold lads back a little bit as well. That's a great fight. I think Sean Murray showed the other night his technical ability has improved massively since his debut. He packs a punch. He had Shane Mean on the floor twice. Peter packs a punch. So why doesn't Peter not go? Which we've discussed with Peter. Peter's agreeing. Peter goes, gets a 6 rounder. Um, I have a fight made. I know Sean Murray's next opponent. It's an Irish opponent. The Irish opponent has agreed. And if Sean comes through that fight, then he can fight Peter maybe for the Celtic title, hopefully. If he doesn't come through it, the person who's fighting him
Okay.
could come through it, and then he could fight him. So there's a lot happening. But at the minute, I know Peter and Sean want to fight each other. I don't think they've any badness between them, but they're looking at it, and the both of them are saying the same thing. They want to fight in domestic clashes. They want to be active. They want to be busy, and Peter seeing the winner of that fight as his way of getting involved. And I think it's great for Irish boxing. But again, there is times where I have to be the promoter and think about it sensibly. And yes, it makes sense to make that fight straight away. It sells tickets. It does good business, but it's not always about good tickets and good business. It's about making the right fights at the right time. And I think the both of them are probably one fight away from that fight.
In terms of the 6 rounder for that opponent, can you say anything about that opponent? Who is the guy that's going to be standing across?
Yeah, I was going to announce it earlier, but I knew I had this chat with you, Matt, so I said I'd like to give it to you first because I know you get
Thank you.
excited by this one. But once I get it approved from the boxing union, or which there shouldn't be a problem with it, I will be applying for Shane or Sean Murray versus Dominic Dunnigan over 8 rounds. If it doesn't get approved, they will fight over 6 rounds. I think
And
you'd like that one.
you just casually just dropped that. So listen, I'll take that.
There you go.
Thank you so
That was for
much
you,
for
Matt. I kept that one for you.
your
That's been
legend.
agreed since yesterday, but I said I'd leave that for you, bro.
I thank you. Kay Lewis against Ian Cansado. I hope I'm not butchering that name, but apologies if he is watching and butchering that. Kane Lewis, good win picked up. What's next for Kane in your mind?
I don't manage Kane. I would love to manage Kane. I think he's a hidden talent that's sitting there that I don't think people appreciate how good he really is. Again, I don't manage him. If I did manage him, I would have his map well set from whoever I am trying to help along the way from. A really, really good kid, very professional in every aspect of the sport, from when you make the fights to when the fight ends. He's a really good team around them. Really good guys. I will hope to be able to put Kane Lewis into a Celtic title fight. I will reach out to one or two in Ireland to see, but I don't think anyone wants to fight Kane Lewis, to be honest with you. So I will go to Scotland, Wales, and if I have to go to Spain, and that, like, Kane Lewis to me is deserving of a Celtic title. I think his performances in his last few shows. Okay, yeah, he got rid of the guy early and in the show earlier this year in February, but again, you have to hit and put. You have to put away what's put in front of you. Casado is a good guy. He's a tough guy. He's known to be a bit dirty, but he didn't even try that with Kane. I think Kane earned respect of him very early, and he didn't get up to his old antics. And to me, I think he's definitely the best featherweight in the country. I think dropping down to super bantamweight, he can't do it, but if he could do it, out of the lads that are actively on the scene there and fighting for Celtic and Irish titles, I think Kane Lewis beats every one of them. But again, I don't know if any of them lads are going to want to meet him. Are they going to want to meet him in the middle, or like we can do a deal? Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be bang on featherweight. You don't have to come to featherweight. We could do a little deal, maybe meet in the middle or something like that. But again, I'll discuss that with Kane. Let Kane enjoy his win. I have had a brief conversation with him the other night and with his coaches and that. Again, really good guys. And I think we all have the same plans and the same hopes for Kane. I did say I'd meet him next week and I'll have a chat. And if I can help him in any way and try guide him as best I can, I will do that.
With Kane, I was watching him warm up in the dressing room, and Jay, he has fast hands, and I could see power, and like he is fast, like.
Yeah, I genuinely believe he's excellent. I think he's top class. I just, again, I think he's one of them people you don't hear an awful lot about, you don't see an awful lot about, but every time he fights, he performs and he looks really good. And that's what I love about him. But not only that, his mannerism and the way he goes about his business he's top class.
Yeah. Senan Kelly against Dale Arrowsmith. I was talking to Senan after the fight, and he seemed a bit disappointed, to be honest, Jay, with his performance. And Dale, it kind of looks like that Dale was just there to be there, and he just stood there, and Jay just punched. And he said to me, as he said, it was like punching a brick wall.
Yeah, but again, that opponent, we had got other opponents for Senan, and a couple of them pulled out in the whole lot. And Senan's screaming for an Irish title. I agree, Senan needs an Irish title. I want to get him the Irish title. However, did I want to put him into a war? Remember, I say all the time about the right fights at the right time.
Yeah.
Senan's last fight was a war. It was a war, an out 8-round war. He won his Celtic title. Why put him into another war? Why put him into a fight with some tough journeyman that was going to drag him into the trenches when we're hoping the next fight's going to be an Irish title? He could get an injury. He could, something could happen. He could get a shock loss. We've seen that happen recently with some Irish fighters. Yeah. So instead, I wanted to get a fight that Senan could just keep active, stay busy, get into the ring, do his thing, keep active. And he come out of the fight, no injuries, no marks. He's 100%. He's ready to go. Again, right fight, right time. I don't care if he was bored. I don't care if it was like punching a wall. Well, sometimes you have to punch a wall to practice what you're doing in the gym. It's not always about wars and about going into 50-50s and things like that. It's always, again, I'll repeat it, it's about the right fights at the right time. That fight was a keep you ticking over fight, keep you busy, keep you in the gym, keep you with some reason to train. And that's exactly what he got on Saturday or Friday.
With Senan against David Ryan, as you said, right fights at the right time. But David Ryan, I was talking to Senan again. He said that he wants the winner of Tony against David. Would that make sense to you?
Yes, it makes sense, and we've discussed it. The discussions are ongoing. Myself and Ian Cochran we're in discussions the next morning about that fight.
Yeah.
It's about the time. Again, the right fights at the right time. And that is the fight Senan wants next.
Yeah.
So we have to see if David's available. I know he did mention about possibly stepping up weight and the whole lot. But look, Dave has made the weight. I'm sure if Dave is listening here and he'll agree with me on this one. He made the weight. Okay. If he doesn't balloon too heavy, I'm sure he can make the weight again.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for both of them, because if they go to welterweight, you've other welterweights up there that are in the mix that want the Irish title, the likes of Kieran Malloy and things like that. So then it's not just go up to welterweight. Look, we go up to welterweight and fight for it. That's not how the rankings work. There's guys above them at 147 that are waiting to get Irish titles. So then you have to go into that queue, and you may have to have another couple of fights before you're ready. Two boys are ready. Both boys have just won the Celtic title in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, my next show, both of them should fight for the Irish title.
Just on a show basis, is there anything you can say about the month even of your next show? I heard June, July. Okay.
We had June. We had June kind of boxed in, but when we done the maths on it with the numbers of the fighters that were actually available and things like that, it's not making sense over the last couple of days. So today I've kind of come to the conclusion it will be June or it will be July. I won't confirm the date yet because I haven't booked it, and I never release a date until I confirm it with the Boxing Union of Ireland, because I have to make sure that the date is availability. The availability is with them and things like that as well. You have to do things by the book.
Matthew Taylor against Jacob Blawowski. Matthew got 6 great rounds into him, and he has been very active throughout the year, and it's great to see that he's very active throughout the year. What's next for Matthew? After this,
Again, there's no rush. He's just a kid. You know, again, people forget to realize this time last year, Matthew was 3 weeks into training with me on his conditioning. There was never mention of him this time last year of boxing again. Never mind being 4-0 as a pro. He's lost 60 pounds. He stepped into a pro. He's gone professional. He stepped into the ring 4 times. His first opponent, we got an opponent that I knew he'd beat. I thought he would have been a lot tougher, but he got an injury, got out after round 1. The second opponent was a guy that you don't fight in your first fight or two when you're only a young kid. That's more seasoned pro, a guy that gets in, he throws the head, he throws elbows, he wrestles, which he hits you in the back of the head. But I wanted to push Matthew through early enough like that. So he got that fight. That was Peter Alexanderov. Then he fought that guy from Hungary, Orban, who was a silver medalist in the World Championships as an amateur. He showed his class that night. And the other night, he fought Jacob Laskowski. That is one tough guy. That Jacob Laskowski shows why he hasn't been stopped. He doesn't come to lose. He's a live opponent that comes to win. Thankfully, he's not technically great, so he doesn't win that often. But I was watching him warming up, and boy, God, that boy could hit. He was walloping on the pads. And I said to Matthew's father, I had a whisper in his ear and said, just make sure his left hand is up, because all this guy is warming up doing is throwing bombs with his right hand. I said, it's constant right hand bombs. So we knew there was a bit of danger there. See, people are looking for performances and performance and performance, and they're looking for people to look spectacular all the time. But that fight the other night was set again to drag Matthew through 6 rounds with a guy that he was most likely not going to stop. But also, you have to test these people as well. Like, Matthew needs to be tested that can he take a shot? I mean, put him in with guys that throw single big shots. They don't throw 2s and 3s in big numbers to test to see. You remember Amir Khan? Blew everyone out of the water. Then the first time he got clipped on the chin, he fell on his arse, and that was the end of his. He had to rebuild and go again. So again, the right fights at the right time. And I personally think Matthew has had 3 extremely tough journeymen to deal with at a young age with very, very little experience. Because as an amateur, yes, spectacular. But when you're when you're an amateur and you're 15, you're fighting against a 15-year-old. When you're 16, you're fighting against a 16-year-old, etc., etc. But when you're going in at 20, 21 years of age and you're going in against 30-odd-year-old men and full-grown men, it's a learning curve itself. So I was very happy with Matthew the other night. It was a tough fight, but it was always going to be a tough fight. We knew it was going to be a tough fight. 4-0. Next for Matthew, potentially another 6-rounder. And again, right fights at the right time. Dave Ryan steps up to fight Tony. Dave Ryan steps in against Senan with the Celtic title. Then at that weight, then becomes vacant yet again. And Matthew is at that weight. That is the way he will box at, 140 pounds. If the right opponent is available, I think Matthew could fight for the Celtic title within his next 2 fights.
Would you ever? And this is a bit of a side question, not related to Matthew, but with the hours that passed after the first fight happened, an absolute war, Jay, that it was, and I think every single one of us can agree with each other that fight was an absolute war, and it was a great fight and a great main event, and a great main event that you put on yourself. But was there ever thoughts of a rematch that were passing through your head quickly within the hours after that fight?
Tony and Dave?
Yes.
Yeah, I want the rematch.
Yeah.
I just feel that there was too many. I'm not arguing and saying Dave didn't win the fight, because that's a matter of opinions. I genuinely believe that Tony won the first round, the second round, and potentially the third round. I had him nick the 6th or the 7th round. I thought he came on quite good at the end of one of the rounds. He had a good finish to the round, a good minute and a half, 2 minutes of a round. I felt he nicked that round. I had Tony scoring minimum 74, 75 points. I scored the fight 76, 75 to Dave after watching it back. However, the scorecards come in at 78, 73, and I find that score impossible because Tony had the knockdown, and he most definitely won the first round because he came out of the traps very fast, and I thought he gave a boxing lesson in the first round. Fights aren't won the first 2 rounds, don't get me wrong. However, I don't know what exactly happened. We know the situation, and I won't comment too much on that because people make mistakes, and human error is a human error, and nobody deserves to be. No one deserves to be scrutinized because of that, But there was an error made on the cards. I know the error. I know what was being said about the error. However, I don't think Tony only scored 73 points because he definitely won the first round. He had a knockdown and won the second round. So therefore, he was on 74 points after round 2. Okay, if the referee didn't like any more work out of Tony, you can say, okay, we had to finish in 74. However, when the score came in at 73, it was going, oh, that's impossible. That couldn't have happened. So I'm wondering, was there maybe another mix-up on the cards? I don't know. I requested, and it was only a request, I requested that the fight, because of how it went, I just thought it was disgusting that, Dave had his heart broken and his team were very emotional, and rightly so. But then for Tony's heart to be broken by going up and taking the belt off him and having to bring it down and give it to Dave, that broke another man's heart. And I just feel it was such a good fight. 2 boys had their hearts broken on the night. One obviously got his repaired. I asked for the fight to be rematched. I think it would be only fair for both of them. Well, Dave won't say that now because he got the win in the end, but I felt it would be a fair outcome because it was such a close fight. The scores didn't really make sense. I requested that the fight is rematched, and I think that would be fair. I think it would be a great rematch, and for the Celtic title.
I'm just going to move briefly on, and we'll talk about the main event in a few minutes. But Declan Gowdy against Alan White, 6 rounds banged for Declan Gowdy, and obviously, Jay, we had this conversation, and I remember that I asked Deco the question. You know the question when I ask you, and is it on? Is just for the people that are listening and don't really know, is Moran against Gowdy on anytime soon, or will it be on within this year?
If they're willing to come to the table and make the fight, 100%. Like, no sure thing, it can happen. But the problem is, I think the guys have got another fight lined up. We were at the table. I actually spoke to Dylan. I spoke to Dylan the other day, and I have a lot of respect for Dylan. There's no the public and the media need to. I know we have to build fights, and I get that. But let's not make men fall out. Let's not make. I know they've thrown their own things in and they're saying their own things and the whole lot. But let's build the fight properly, and let's not build it that the 2 lads hate each other, because they don't. They have respect for each other. I know they've got a little bit shorty in the last few days and the whole lot. I have massive respect for Dylan and his team. I'm sure Dylan's team feel the same towards myself. I know they had got the fight on before and there was an injury and things like that, and I get all that. Deco's willing to fight. And Dylan, I believe, is willing to fight. So the question is, what's next for Dylan? Are they agreeing this fight with Owen O'Neill? If they are, get it announced, get it out there, and Deco can fight the winner. Because Deco was supposed to fight O'Neill, but he came in 11 pounds too heavy. Deco had agreed to fight Dylan. Dylan had agreed to fight Deco. Now Dylan's fighting Owen.
What was the weight at, Jay?
Owen's just come into the mix. 147.
Okay. Right.
Well, Owen will not make 147.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Owen, but he's not making 147.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's shown that he couldn't make it, and the last time I know he was really tight on 158, so he's not going back to 147. And if he is, it's not going to be healthy for him. So he needs to just remember that health is more important than making a way for a fight. It's 154. I think would be a better way for Owen. But anyway, that's Owen's thing. If Dylan and Owen is going to fight and it's going to be approved and agreed, and they're going to fight in around August time, that's fine. Well, August or October, November, I'm sure the winner can fight Declan.
Would that be down in Waterford, or would that be at the warehouse?
Wherever pays more money.
Okay.
Whatever makes sense. I don't hold my fighters. I won't tie my fighters down to my promotion. If it makes sense for them to go and fight in another corner and get paid more, well, that's where they'll go.
Okay. Shane Meehan against Sean Murray. What a war. 6 rounds, knockdowns, the lock, cuts. We had everything in that fight. 2 lads that said they're going to come into the centre of the ring and they're going to stand and they're going to bang. And that's exactly what they did. Can I just get your opinion briefly on that fight and how do you think that fight went?
I thought it was exactly what I said it would be. I thought the 2 lads would go to the middle of the ring, stand. That they're not the most technically gifted boxers. They don't come from a massive amateur background. And I knew they would just get into the ring and have a scrap. And I felt it was a great fight.
Yeah.
Credit to both men. I think Shane's conditioning let him down. I think that's what let him down on the night. The cards were, I don't know what was the story with the cards. Sean had him down
75.
Yeah. 50, 57, 56.
Yeah.
That was a bit much.
Yeah.
I thought it was a wider score. But again, it just showed that Shane was in the fight all the way through, and he's requested, look at Ivy Stray. Shane has asked, he said, could he fight maybe someone like Alan White next? And then he wants a rematch. So there's no reason why we couldn't do that either.
Yeah.
I think it's a fight that people will pay to see.
Yeah.
because I thought it was an absolutely brilliant fight. I thought it was a
Yeah,
war.
yeah,
I thought it was phenomenal for
yeah.
two young guys, 1-0 in their career. I thought it was as good as any fight you'd see.
And Paul Newman getting 6 good rounds banked against Stefan Nikolai. Stefan, he came tough as well, and it was 6 good rounds banked for Paul. What's next for Paul Newman?
Yeah. It was Paul. Paul showed. I think in the early rounds he was a little bit cagey, a little bit cautious, just done what boxers do. He went in, showed his experience. He boxed. He boxed very clever. Had a really good jab. He threw lovely punches. Made sure he wasn't getting caught. I think as the fight went on, he started showing what kind of a style he has and what kind of a style he wants to have in a pro. I think the last round he showed some beautiful footwork, and I was very impressed with Paul. It was a real boxer's performance. What next for Paul? Paul, just another 6 rounder. Let's get another 6 rounder, another learning fight. We're not going to be going for these easy opponents. Maybe someone like Yin Casado who Kane boxed in the last show. Maybe someone like that in the next opponent. Because again, he's another tough opponent that's different, but you're going to need. He's rough and ready, and Paul will need that because he needs to learn the pro game as well. Um, Something like that over 6 rounds, and whenever Paul is ready and his team is ready, that's when we look at stepping him up. But again, young kid, bags of talent. We're not going to ruin that. We're going to build him. We're building him. We hope to build him the same way we're building Matthew. Because again, they're too young, kind of this.
The main event. We talked about it briefly multiple times on this interview, but David Ryan, Tony McGlynn. I just want to say, Jay, first, the atmosphere from the upper tier, it nearly blew the roof off the place, and I can say that with confidence. And I was looking down towards the lower deck and where the VIP stand, where the VIP was. Everyone was on their feet. I couldn't see one person that was actually sitting. Everyone was on their feet watching that fight, and I think that fight was an absolutely amazing fight. But just from a promoter's point of view, what did you think of it as a whole?
Yeah, said it earlier. I thought Tony got off to a blistering start. I thought the pace was too fast to start. My question and my verdict on this fight the whole way through. I never once branded David the kickboxer because I wouldn't do that. I don't have any thoughts towards David being a kickboxer. David's a boxer. He's a 5-0 pro. I said that from the get go. My thing about this was Tony had to be in tip top shape. He had to come in fully conditioned because David was going to be just coming forward, coming forward, coming forward. He was exactly what I thought he would be. I thought Tony was exactly what he could be in the first few rounds, and his conditioning just let him down a bit, and he has his own reasons for that, and we've discussed it. And look, Tony was heartbroken. I think he if he had just lost the fight, he probably wouldn't have been as bad as he was. It was just the fact that he'd been announced the winner and then had the belt taken off him. But again, Tony will come again. There's no sure thing. We just need to recuperate, sit down. We have a good chat about certain few things, and I have all the confidence in the world of Tony. I think anyone that watched the fight here tonight seen how good Tony was. Yes, it was only for a few rounds, but he's seen how good he was, how quick he was on his feet. For a smaller guy on the night, he showed he could punch. Dave Ryan has clearly said he had 90 to 100 kickboxing fights. He took kicks in the head. He's took knees. Punches in the head. He's never ever been down sparring or fighting. And Tony McGlynn was only 5 minutes into the fight and he'd already had him on the floor. His boxing skills, his power is there. There's just some things we need to work on outside of that, conditioning and things like that. But again, he's young. He will come again. He will carry a Celtic title, and I'm very, very sure Tony will get an Irish title as well. And Dave, again, he pushes on now as well. So, and he's a really good guy, and and a lot of respect for him. So I would love to see them rematch again on next out. If they don't rematch and they're not going to rematch, well, David can fight Senan, and we'll go again with Tony.
How is Tony after? How was Tony after the fight? If you talk to him in the hours and the days after, how is he now?
Yeah, he's okay. He's still upset. Again, if you lose a fight, you lose a fight. You'll know yourself where you lost the fight. You might think sometimes you won and you didn't, and you might think it was closer than it was, or you might have been robbed or whatever. But when the judge reads out your card and says that or when the MC reads out and says you've won the fight, and you get handed a belt and you lift it, and then it's snatched from you. That's not an easy task. That's not something easy. That is the kind of stuff that can cause serious mental health issues.
Yeah.
because that is the highest of the highest to the lowest of the low within minutes. And for me to have to go up to the changing room and tell him that I had to take the belt back off him broke my heart on the night.
I
You
say
know,
though, I
it
say
broke
those
my
hot
heart.
words that I say that was you didn't even want to mutter, after even going up to the change room and just thinking of that.
Yeah, but I was trying to think of the words to say to him when you walked into the changing room, and knowing that you didn't want to say it, but you had to say it. And yeah, it was very difficult. And it wasn't Tony's fault. It wasn't David's fault. It wasn't David's team's fault. It wasn't Tony's team's fault. It was human error. And
Yeah.
as I said, human error happens. It is what it is. You can't you can't cry and whinge and give out about it because it's done. There's certain things in life you've no control over. When they're done. It's how you deal with them afterwards. And that's why I requested the rematch, that the two lads get back in, rematch it fairly, and the announcement of the winner gets announced, and that's it this time. There's no argy-bargy, because that's something that will play on Tony's mind until we get our hands on that belt again. And whether it be with David as a rematch or whether we have to regroup and go again, so be it. We will. He is capable and he's good enough to do that, and he has my back. And I've spoke to him every day. I've been ringing him every day to make sure he's okay and the whole lot. Spoke to his parents on the night of the show. Spoke to his partner on the night of the show, and just said to them, make sure they stay close to him. Make sure that we look after him, because it is going to get dark for him when he's on his own and things like that. Because I've been there. I know it's like to lose a fight. I haven't had the situation he had, but I've know what it's like to lose a fight when you're fully confident and you think you can win it. It breaks your heart. I've cried my heart out in an arena before when I lost a fight that I genuinely felt I could win, and I didn't. And I know how hard that was. But to have your hand raised, given a belt, to have it taken back off you, it's so worse than that. So I can only imagine what he was going through. I did speak to him today. I had a brief chat with him today again, and he was in good form. And we were WhatsApping yesterday, and we were having a bit of crack. So, he will come again. He 100% he will come again, and I can guarantee you he will lift that title. Whatever way you have to go about it, he will lift it.
No, because just from a personal standpoint, just that even like seeing what happened unfold at Jay was heartbreaking, to be honest, to see. Like the belt, and obviously to seeing it, then obviously, as you said, that can play on someone's mind, and it's stuff can get dangerous. Let's say that's why I was asking, just to ask, and just to hopefully you hear that he's okay, and it's good to hear that he's okay. But have you spoken to David as well on the other part since Friday night?
Yeah, I just briefly I spoke to David's manager, and I had just a couple of messages back and forth with David the next day, because again in the heat of the moment certain things were said, and I challenged a couple of things that were said to him, and I got a text the next morning to say, look, they were only said in the heat of the moment, and I just went back and said, Dave, massive respect for you, mate. Wish you all the best. You're welcome on any of my shows, and I wish you the best in everything you do moving forward. And again, that's it. I don't fall out with boxers, because again, I'm doing this for boxers. It doesn't always have to be my fighters. I don't disrespect the fighter because he beats one of my fighters or he's against one of my fighters. I try to give them all a level playing field. I try to make sure they all get the same coverage we get. There's other promoters that don't promote the other fighters, the away fighters. They only promote their own fighters. It's not the way I work. I'm trying to promote everybody I can in Irish boxing that I'm working with. I want to give them the best coverage they can get from the day they agree to fight my shows till the day they're finished. And I respect every single one of them, because without them, there ain't no shows.
Yeah. The amateur show, I actually just want to talk to a small, because listen, they're on the show, and we're here to talk about the card. Kelsey Leonard is one that particularly stood out for me against Georgie O'Connor. I think it was, Jay, if I'm not mistaken.
Say that again, man.
Kelsey Leonard
Kelly
against
it was Kelly McLaughlin.
Kelly McLaughlin. Sorry, yeah. Great female amateur fight to start off. But just to ask, what was the thinking behind the amateur bit? Because I never got to ask this just before, like the amateur bit, like how to fit that into the shows. Just something unique you thought of a marketing selling point.
Oh, look, at the end of the day, I mean, if you can give, I wanted to keep it at like 15, 16-year-olds and above. I didn't want kind of the younger kids on it, but you kind of get a little bit pressured into it sometimes, and look at again, I you can have just a show starts at 7 o'clock, and if it's a good night, you get all good victory. The other night we had no stoppages. The matchmaking was perfect, no stoppages. But on another night, you got 3 or 4 stoppages, and the show's over at 9:30, and it's not really great entertainment. And we seen one night we had Irish dancers, the next night we had singers, the other night we had the t-shirt shooting out of the guns on the break and things like that. Trying to bring entertainment, they're trying to bring this atmosphere, family-like, party kind of atmosphere to the event. Not just you come in at 7 o'clock, you're a boxing fan, you watch boxing and you go home. Trying to, like, people look at the younger kids on the show, and I'd like to help them because I feel they're our future. So you're giving them that feel, you're giving them that experience of putting on the pro gloves, walking to the ring, the big scream, getting in there and in a pro ring, and some of them wear the pro shorts, even though they're only young fellas and that. And I just think it's great for them. But they're the future. They're the ones, you will see all these now, but in 4 or 5 years' time, these could be boxing pro on the show. And you go, geez, remember he boxed on the show 4 years ago or 3 years ago, or he's had 10 of these. Or it could be 4 or 5 years down the road, and you could be saying, geez, he's had 10 or 12 of them amateur shows on that card. That stood to him when he went pro because he was used to the walkout, he was used to the crowd, he was used to the lights, he was used to the screen. So, in my opinion, it can only benefit Irish boxing. And what more? Like, let's be honest, Matt. I'm sure you'd even be excited if you got to box on one of the cards. You know what I mean? You're not 14 or 15.
Yeah.
So I just think you're giving these kids a massive opportunity. And I know, like, I spoke to some of their parents. They've texted to say thanks through the page, and I said I hope they enjoyed themselves. And it was the night of their life. They haven't stopped talking about it. There's another couple of kids lined up. No, it is, and there's another couple of kids I met, a couple of people I knew, a couple of adults I knew, and their kid was there, and they boxed with one of them actually from Crumlin, and I went up, and the guy I actually have work relationship with him, and I just said to him, look, you can be on the next show. And I was talking to him today in work, and he said to me, he's fucking buzzing, he can't wait, he's living for it, and then I had the other kids, young Aaron Dunn went out and he bought all the pro gear, he had the pro shorts, he had the thing and all.
That's class.
So that's what I'm saying. And I think, but not only that, I've also said when we're making the fights, we're not just, and no disrespect to the novices or the learn, we're not looking at bringing in a load of just anyone and everyone. We're trying to bring in, like, a few fights tonight were all Ireland rematches, and they were Dublin Championship rematches, and things. We're trying to keep the quality up as well, because it just warms up the place. 7 o'clock the other night, the amateurs had just finished, and there must have been 250 people in the place. Again, it's something different, it's something new. I believe it's been done before, but I've rolled it out, and I think everybody's happy. I think there's no losers in it. I think it's all win. We don't ask the amateurs to sell tickets or anything like that. They can sell a few tickets if they want. If they need tickets, there's no problem. And I give them a cut of their ticket sales as well, so they get a few bob.
That's lovely. That is great.
To help them out. I know there was a couple of amateurs, one made like 300 quid, the other one made like 200 quid. For an amateur to get that fight, again, I give them a percentage because that's fair. And it's not they don't have to sell a ticket. We can have 10 amateurs fight, no ticket sales. That's not part of what we do. We're not doing it for making money. We're doing it just to give them the experience, give them the opportunities, and please God, in 4 or 5 years' time, it will stand to them whether they sign for me or sign for someone else or whatever it may
be. Just one last question. Is there any future plans that you can reveal publicly for Byrne Promotions within the next few months to the end of 2024?
No, nothing really. Same kind of. We're just gonna keep rolling them out at the minute. We've done, I think it's 4 and 6 months. I'd like to have at least another 3, maybe 4 towards the end of the year. At least 3 by the end of the year, and I think that would be a successful year. A few things in the background, but nothing's confirmed, and I'm not going to go down that road of
no, I get you.
Kind of saying, well, we might do this or we might do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, things are going the right direction. Like, we're talking about young kids. I need to get the likes of Glenn back out. I need to get Ushy and Tracy back out. Richie O'Leary. And I want to get John Boyd back out. Paul Loon, I want to get him back out. So Robbie Burke, there's a load I need to get back out. They haven't been out in a couple of months, and again, I want to get them out as soon as possible. And then there is other shows that are going on that people have said, do you want a slot? You need a slot on this show or that show. And the more exposure we can get some of the guys, the better. And we'll rotate around. It won't be just the same fighter getting the same exposure all the time. We will rotate around and mix it up. Like, it won't be. Glenn was on the zone there in March. Well, it won't be Glenn every DAZN show. There's a spot available. We'll mix it up. We'll rotate and give all the fighters an equal spread of the thing. And then, look, please God, we can get our own broadcast. There is a possibility we may have our own broadcast coming soon. That's something that we are discussing at the minute with a broadcaster. So But I'll tell you what, Matt, you'll be the first one I text and tell when we get that.
I appreciate that, Jay. On that note, I really appreciate you coming on here, taking your time, taking your time as well to talk all the fights. And again, thank you so much.
No, thank you, Matt. Appreciate all the work you do for us.
Thank you.